Good morning, hello, and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am your host, Josh Davis, also known as Crash. Today is Christmas Eve, Sunday, December 24th, 2023. So hope everybody out there is having an awesome day as we're getting ready to celebrate the Christmas season with all your family and friends. Hope everybody is excited and ready to spend some great time with your family, share some gifts and some laughs and just some great time. So hope everybody's doing well out there today. I am here to go over the Week 16 slate in the NFL. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it, starting with our overview of the slate. Well, first of all, if you're new to DFS Coach Talk, if you would hit the like button and then hit subscribe. After you've done those two things, if you would hit the alarm bell, that will let you know when our newest podcast has gone live. If you're new to DFS Coach Talk in general, we would love to have you join us. We have our NBA special right now for $59.99, which actually is going to be $49.99 now. You'll get the rest of the NBA season, all of the NFL up and, including the Super Bowl, the Major League Baseball once that starts, and any other sports that we cover in between. So I hope you guys can take advantage of that. And for today and tomorrow, I am doing $10 off of that. So we're going to do for $39.99, you'll get the NBA special. So definitely want to take advantage of that if you can over the next couple of days. I will be giving out a membership if we have any new people joining us today on the podcast. I will be giving out a membership for a week. So last week we had Travis, awesome guy. I talked to him a little bit last night. So excited for that. Hope he stays with us and hope to see someone new in our Discord this week as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. We had Thursday night game. We had the two games yesterday. So that takes us up to the 1 o'clock Eastern start with the Indianapolis Colts and the Atlanta Falcons. In Atlanta, the Falcons are a 3-point favorite. Falcons are minus 150 on the money line. Game has a 44.5 over under. No weather, they're indoors. Then we have the Packers taking on the Panthers. The Packers are a 4-point favorite, minus 210 on the money line. Pretty low over under at only 37.5. It's outdoors, of course, in Carolina. 62 degrees with the wind blowing east to southeast at 5 miles an hour. Excuse me for 1 second. I got to find my coffee. Here it is over here. All right, so next game, we have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Houston Texans in Houston. Cleveland is a minus 3 favorite, minus 160 on the money line. Game has a 40 over under. They're indoors, so there's no weather there. Nico Collins is expected to play for Houston, so that's big for him to be in the lineup for them with Tank Dell out. 1 p.m. Eastern as well. Detroit Lions taking on the Vikings in Minnesota. The Lions are trying to clinch the division for the first time, I believe, ever. They are minus 3 favorite, minus 160 on the road, and 47.5 over under. So that's probably one of the highest, if not the highest, on this whole slate. So high over under Detroit, Minnesota should be pretty good from a DFS standpoint. We have a not so good game from DFS standpoint, I would think. Washington Commanders taking on the Jets in New York. The Jets are a 3-point favorite at home, minus 160 on the money line, 37 over under, 49 degrees with 2-mile-an-hour winds blowing to the northeast. It's a little bit, 49 isn't warm, but based on the time of year for Christmas, it is a little warm today just across the country in general. Seattle is at Tennessee. Seahawks are a 3-point favorite, minus 170 on the money line, 41.5 over under, 65 degrees, 11-mile-an-hour winds blowing to the south-southeast. When we move to the afternoon slate, Jacksonville Jaguars and Tampa taking on the Buccaneers. Jaguars are a 1-point favorite on the road, minus 120 on the money line, 43 over under. 74 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing to the east. Real nice weather in Tampa, as you might expect. Then we have the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Chicago Bears in Chicago. 4-point favorite for Chicago at home, minus 200 on the money line. 43 over under. 52 degrees. Like I said, that's just unseasonably warm for Chicago in Christmas time. 52 degrees, 11-mile-an-hour winds blowing to the south-southeast. Then we have the Dallas Cowboys in Miami taking on the Dolphins. Miami is a 1.5 point favorite at home, minus 130 on the money line, 48.5 over under. I believe that is the highest on the slate. 75 degrees, 13 mile an hour winds blowing to the east. Then tonight we have the Broncos. This is the one game that's actually normal weather for Christmas time. The Broncos is a 7-point favorite at home, taking on the Patriots, minus 355 on the money line. 27 degrees with the wind blowing to the northeast at 10 miles an hour. And then tomorrow, we have 3 games tomorrow as well. We have the Raiders in Kansas City taking on the Chiefs. Chiefs are a 10.5 point favorite at home, minus 565 on the money line, 40.5 over under. 39 degrees, 15 mile an hour winds blowing to the west, 63% chance of rain. We have the New York Giants in Philadelphia. Philadelphia's a 13.5 point favorite. I believe they're the largest favorite this weekend, minus 825 on the money line, 51 degrees, wind blowing to the east at 5 miles an hour. And then tomorrow night's big game, could be a potential Super Bowl preview. Baltimore Ravens taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Niners minus 6, minus 265 on the money line, 46.5 over under, 58 degrees with the wind blowing to the northwest at 5 miles an hour. Let's take a look at the chat, see what any questions anybody has. I'm not seeing any questions yet, so hopefully we'll get those soon. I know it's Christmas Eve, so everybody's with their family and everything, but hopefully you guys will be able to tune into this if you're not able to see it live. Tune into it later. My top quarterback play is Baker Mayfield. He's 6,000 on DraftKings, 7,300 on Fanduel, $27 on Yahoo. He had a career game last week against the Packers. He earned the Player of the Week honors because of it. He's at home in Tampa against Jacksonville, who have struggled. They've lost 3 straight games. They have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks this year. I think Mayfield's ownership is going to be pretty low, so I think he's in a really good spot from a tournament standpoint, but he's also in play for cash for me. For value, I do like Joe Flacco. He's 5,500 on DraftKings, 7,100 on FanDuel, $26 on Yahoo. Like we talked about last week, he's just really, really been heavily involved in the passing game. They've just been throwing the ball a ton. They've thrown it, 44 and 45 times in his 3 starts. Last week, even though he threw 3 interceptions, he still threw for 374 yards and had 2 touchdowns for 22.9 DraftKings points. So still really good value, even with him turning the ball over 3 times. This week, he's on the road against Houston. They have allowed the 9th most fantasy points to quarterbacks this year. So if they keep throwing the ball a ton, he can limit his turnovers. He should have a really nice game again today. Running back, I like Rachaad White. He's 7,400 on DraftKings, 7,700 on FanDuel, $28 on Yahoo. He's been very heavily involved in the Bucs offense lately. He's had 22 carries per game in his last 3 games. He's averaged 22 DraftKings points in those games. He's also been targeted in the passing game. He has a receiving touchdown in 2 of his last 3 games. Today, I also like Derrick Henry. I know he let a lot of people down last week, so I think that going back to him is a really good move today. I think that he'll be very low owned, and he's going up against the Seahawks, who have allowed the most rushing yards per game over the last 3 games at 173.7. So I do like Derrick Henry at low ownership today, or what I perceive to be low ownership. Then for value, you have Chuba Hubbard against my Packers. He's in that same spot that Rachaad White was in last week. Packers have allowed the 9th most fantasy points to running backs this year, and they have allowed the 4th most rushing yards. He's also, just like Rachaad White, been getting a lot of carries over the last 3 games. He's gotten 23.3 carries, and he's averaged 92.7 yards in those 3 games rushing. Wide receiver, like Justin Jefferson. He's 8,100 on DraftKings, 9,200 on FanDuel, $28 on Yahoo. At home against the Lions, he's averaged 25.4 DraftKings points the last 5 times that he's faced them. Last year, he had a career high 223 yards receiving on 11 catches for 36.3 DraftKings points. So Justin Jefferson is in a really good spot against Detroit. Last week, he got targeted 10 times in Cincinnati And then the week before that was his first game back, so only got targeted 3 times. I think he's going to be heavily involved from, going forward. He's pretty much all the way back. So I think Jefferson should be the highest or one of the highest wide receivers scoring this week in fantasy. For value, we got a little bit of news yesterday with Michael Pittman being out. I like Alec Pierce. He's 4,000 on DraftKings, 5,300 on Fanduel, $14 on Yahoo. I think Josh Downs is going to see a lot of AJ Terrell. So I think that Pierce is going to be in a good spot for value because of that. Let me go ahead and look at the inactives. They should be out now. It's 5 after 10:30. Okay, so we have trying to see if there's anyone that stands out. Okay, they're not all out yet, so we'll wait a few more minutes and come back. All right, we'll move. Let me take a look at the chat, see if we have any new members, any questions. I don't see anything new. We'll move on to tight end. So we have Trey McBride. He's 5,700 on DraftKings, 7,000 on FanDuel, $21 on Yahoo, going up against Chicago, who has allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends this year. McBride has really established himself as one of the best tight ends in the league this year. He's been targeted an average of 9 times per game over his last 5 games. He's in a great matchup this week. He was in a tough matchup last week against San Francisco, and he still put up really good numbers. He had 10 catches on 11 targets for 102 receiving yards for 23.2 DraftKings points. So should be even in a better spot, in an even better spot on paper today against the Bears. So I do like Trey McBride a lot. I also like David Njoku. He had an excellent game last week, and today he's going up against Houston. They have allowed the 6th most fantasy points to tight ends this year. So Njoku should be in a really good spot again this week. TJ Hawkinson is at home against his former team in Detroit. I like that. For value, I like Cade Otton from Tampa. As you can see, I like a lot of Tampa. I was really impressed with their offense last week. Not just because, they're facing the Packers. I know the Packers don't have the best defense, but they have been pretty good against the pass. And Tampa just absolutely shredded us. So Jacksonville struggled quite a bit against quarterbacks and tight ends. So I do think that Cade Otton's in a really good spot. 3,300 on DraftKings, 5,200 on FanDuel, $11 on Yahoo. Jacksonville has allowed the 4th most fantasy points to tight ends this year. And, Otton's pretty cheap on all 3 sites. So he's a good value GPP play today. Defense, I do like the Falcons against the Colts. I know they're getting Jonathan Taylor back, but Zach Moss is out. And they're also going to be without Michael Pittman, who's by far been their best player on offense this year. So I think that they're probably going to struggle a little bit. The Falcons defense has been playing pretty well last, several weeks. Even last week, I know they lost to Carolina, but Carolina only scored 9 points, which it's Carolina, but still Falcons defense has been playing pretty well. For value, I think the Bears are in a good spot against Arizona, and I also like Tampa at home against Jacksonville. Surprise, surprise, right? And then for my top plays of the week, as far as from a parlay or pick standpoint, I do like the Broncos at home over New England. They would be my lock of the week. And then my upset, I like the Titans. Now, I do see that it looks like Will Levis won't play, so I don't like that as much. But I do like them to at least cover +3. Maybe they lose by 1 or 2. But I like them to cover that +3 against Seattle. They're in one of those sleeper spots, trap game type situation for Seattle after a big win at home on Monday night. So I think that they're in a really good spot. I can't remember who did Seattle play Monday. Philadelphia. Yeah, so they got a big win at home over Philadelphia. Going on the road to Tennessee, those are the kind of games that can be tough. So I think Tennessee's in a pretty good spot for an upset. For Prizepicks, so they have their 12 days of what they call 12 days of Pixmas going on, and it's their promo. In today's promo, they have the holiday sweater, Christmas sweater discount play. So basically, any player on the board that has a sweater on, Christmas sweater on, is going to have a discounted line. So I'll keep an eye on that throughout the day and let you guys know which ones I like, if any, and I'll post those in our Discord. But for now, I'm going to go with A.J. Dillon more than 7.5 rushing attempts. He's averaged 10 carries per game with Aaron Jones in the lineup this year, and he's gone over this number in all but 2 games this year. So I think they're going to rely pretty heavily on the run today with Jones and Dillon. So I do like Dillon more than 7.5 rushing yards. Jaden Reed's out for the Packers. That stinks. Let's see here. What else we got? Joe Flacco, more than 36.5 pass attempts. As I mentioned earlier, he's had 44 or more in all 3 of his starts this year. So I do like Flacco to once again throw more than 36.5 times. And then my favorite play of the day is going to be Justin Jefferson, more than 17.5 fantasy score. As I mentioned, he's absolutely crushed the Lions lately. And I think he's going to have, like I said, one of the best scoring days of the day. All right, let's take a look at the chat. Don't see any questions, so I hope everybody has enjoyed the show today. It's been a little brief, but there hasn't been many questions or anything, so we're rolling right along. And like I said at the beginning of the show, our NBA special is discounted to $49.99 going forward. And then for today and tomorrow, it's going to be $39.99 is our Christmas special. So I hope you guys take advantage of that if you're not a member with us already. I hope everybody has an awesome Christmas with your family and friends. Just have a great, next couple of days. And we'll be back again next week as we continue to crush it in NFL, DFS, and Prizepicks. Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you.